Okay. Okay, we're going to start the meeting. I'm going to move with Mike Patrick. It's not on here. I asked that question about Carol and she said she doesn't put that on there on the regular meetings. Would you like to let's salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're on open session. There are no objections. I would like to move up the last item on the agenda to the first one. Any objections? Thank you.
I have one item that
It's been brought to my attention as a time-sensitive matter to be placed on unanimous consent. Council or Talbot?
Yes, I have a motion to place on this evening's agenda by unanimous consent of the councilors, a matter received from the bond counsel that will require immediate attention.
Thank you. Motion?
That is my motion.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I have a second
You
motion.
have a second motion?
I do.
Okay.
My motion is to refer to the town administrator, a matter received from the bond counsel for his attention.
Is that your motion?
It is.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm not sure what I'm voting on, so I guess that's gonna be discussed. I mean, I hate to
It
vote
can't
on.
be.
Is it gonna be discussed tonight?
No, you can't.
I believe it was intended that the motion for unanimous consent to place an item on the agenda was the motion that placed it on the agenda. And we're now being asked to agree that we will charge the administrator for responsibility. I believe that it
That's
is
correct. I appreciate you saying that.
I'm gonna vote no against that. I'm not gonna vote on something. I know it's gonna put it on for unanimous consent, but.
Okay.
Just,
You gonna vote no on the
Yeah.
second motion? So 4-1, thank you. Okay, now thank you, Counselor. So we have an update on communication with Independent Order of Oddfellows regarding updating the agreement between the town and the IOF for 32 Commons. Solicitor, I know you've been working on this. Could you give us an update?
I had the opportunity to meet the Grand Master of the International Order of Odd Fellows for the state of Rhode Island, Mr. Seeger, who's here. I've also spoken with Mr. Lawson, who's here also, is the secretary for the number 39 Secana Lodge on this matter. Mr. Lawson asked for documentation to be sent to him. I have sent, unfortunately, didn't get to him in time for us to meet on those documents. I think the Oddfellows didn't have a meeting on this. One of the things that I've said is that this agreement from 1985, in any event, needs to be updated, no matter what happens with the proposed plans for the Oddfellows Fall, which is 32 Commons, I believe, correct? So I'd like the opportunity to do that. The gentlemen have indicated that they'd speak with me on that, and I'd like to have that continue on. This agreement is 1985. It's open-ended. But I do think that there are some things that need to be adjusted in there for both parties, just to reflect the fact that 40 years have gone by.
Solicitor, can you clarify the space that's in that agreement for the Oddfellows on 32 Commons?
The second floor was reserved for use by the Oddfellows.
And it's stated, that's what's stated in the agreement, that
Right, yeah.
it's the second floor.
Well, it doesn't say it has to, but it just says the second floor.
So it's space
Correct,
in that building.
correct.
So it's my understanding that whether there's adaptive reuse to that building or if there's restoration to that building, there'll always be a space for the Oddfellows.
Absolutely.
No matter what happens, no matter what's voted on or what's not voted on, it's not financial meeting, the articles that are on the warrant. Whatever one passes or doesn't pass, there will always be a space for the Oddfellows on 32.
I'm not going to get overly technical, but the transaction that took place in 1985 was what's known as a sale leaseback. And in fact, it's referred to in the agreement. The town always owned the land underneath the lodge. The International Order of Art Builders owned the building. That was conveyed to the town, and then there was a leaseback for essentially the second floor of the space. But there was a reference in the agreement that the town would also be using the space too.
Right. So, I mean, I'm clear in understanding that whatever happens to these two buildings, the Oddfellows are going to have a space in one of those buildings.
They have rights under the agreement that needs to be respected, yes.
And that's absolutely what we want to do. We want the Oddfellows to continue with the space in one of those buildings.
Correct.
I don't see that, and I don't see that changing.
Well, I don't think it can.
Can't change. Not going to change. No one wants to change it.
Maybe some of the odd fellows would like to.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, that's fine. Anyone else on the council have any other questions for the solicitor?
I don't have a question for them, but they were kind enough to give us the building for $1 so they could have the top. That was the agreement. And now you keep saying space. So they're gonna give up the top floor, what, a closet area downstairs? I mean, because of what you're talking about, there's gonna be a little space downstairs, the maker, the wellness center. Or I don't know, something else said, you're gonna have 3 different groups. You're gonna put the seniors down there. Now you're gonna try to put the Oddfellows down there. And then you said there may be a space for the community center to expand the fields over there. So unless you're gonna expand that building another 100 feet, I don't see all those folks are gonna be in.
I would first say I'm not putting anybody anywhere. Okay, I think that it's clear on the adaptive reuse and the restoration, what's going to happen. The Oddfellows will always have space here. I don't know if anybody else wants to comment on that. All right, so
How come I wasn't denied, undenied?
all right, hold on.
Access, yeah, so
Hold on. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna have a 3-minute speak. So we don't have a long meeting like we did last time. So if you'd like to speak, you can come to the podium, say your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak today.
My name is Robert Booth, longtime resident in town. I've been on different committees in town. I just want to know why access to the Oddfellows Hall has been denied to me.
There's fire code violations. The second floor's been
About
closed.
this bill,
I'm sorry, what?
there's sprinklers in here.
Do I have sprinklers in here?
Yeah.
There's no sprinklers. They did another workaround for here. From my understanding, I was a part of it.
Have a variance.
It's a variance.
That's a good reason to keep us out, right?
Well, I had the fire,
Had a yellow line across.
the fire people tell me they have.
How did all of a sudden they're putting no access lines across the stairs to go up there? On the other side of the stairs, it's all falling apart, going to nowhere. People are going up there and it's all rotten. They didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's unfortunate about the dilapidation of the two buildings.
And what about downstairs there?
Here's, it's come to this. It's unfortunate that we have to.
The young people going downstairs, what are you gonna do with that? Knock them down? Knock the kids out? Where they gonna go?
Yeah, I'm not knocking anybody out.
I think you better leave things alone.
Okay. Anyone else?
Get the town to fix it up.
Okay.
Get a grant.
Anyone else?
Little Compton resident for 91 years. I have in front of me the true copy, original minutes, town council, January 10th, 1985, signed by Philip B. Warburton, town clerk. Now, does it want to be read to everybody, or has everybody read it? The agreement.
We've read the agreement.
I have read the agreement. Would you like to put it in the record?
Agreement, facts, town of Little Compton, owns the land on which the Odd Fellows Hall is situated. The IOF owns the Odd Fellows Hall. Yeah, proposed changes. The IOF will turn title to the building over to the town of Oaktown. 2, IOF will have the use of the second story as long as the local organization is in existence. 3, the town, by virtue of being the sole owner of the building, will be responsible for all insurance, repairs, maintenance, electricity, water, service, heat connected with the building. 4, the historical apparatus of the exterior of the building will be respected as much as possible. This does not rule out a possible addition in the future. The restoring of the belfry will be considered. The inner door will be installed by the town, making it possible for the IOF to have threshold restrictions across to the second story. Lavatory, kitchen, sink will be installed with the town on the second floor. Any structure changes, including fire escapes required by state law or town ordinance, will be responsible of the town. The town reserves the right to make any structural changes other than the second story within the building that the town feels are necessary. Copy originally in the minutes, town council, January 10th, 85. And I might say, the kind of large, July 2025, we are 150 years old. So hopefully, I mean, I was in the early 40s, 142. My uncle Jay Rich took me to the Christmas parties by the Sylvia. So us kids made us speak for Santa Claus. And that was my first grade, the fifth grade teacher trying to teach me to say hi, Santa. But in 1950, I became a member of Secona Lodge and have been ever since. And I hope that we can continue a few more years for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Mike Seeger. I'm the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Rhode Island. And I have with me tonight representative of the Grand Lodge. I have the, I'll try to keep this short here. I have District Deputy Grand Master Tom Katako with me tonight. The Grand Secretary, Susan, Barbara McLaren. The Grand Treasurer, George Glover. The Grand Encampment, Lisa Johnson. Past Grand Officer of the Grand Lodge is John Lawson. And I have Don McLaren, who is currently the Grand Master of Secona Lodge, as well as John Lawson, who is the recording secretary, Noble Grand, I'm sorry. And also John Lawson, who is a recording secretary. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for their outreach. I had been in talk with Ms. Talbot about this when we first started getting this in the rolling, and I had mentioned that we needed to get a hold of an executive board meeting, which was a problem. We had people that were out sick and so forth, so we're just trying to get this together. But I did mention to the executive board that there was an ASAP. We had to work on this right quickly. And then we also did Mr. Sisto. He contacted us, but it was all on the lakeside. We had a meeting today, so we wanted to come down here just to show our support. The lodge itself, yes, it had been faltering with deaths and so forth, but we do have, as I've been told tonight, we have 17 new membership that people are applying. So we're here just to see, if there's anything. I want to keep in touch with everybody. I will be going out of the office fairly soon, but I'm still going to be around. So if we can keep going from there, but I'd like to thank everybody for their outreach and so forth, and glad that we get down here. If there's any further questions, we'd be more than glad to help out in any way we can as far as questions are concerned. So thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Anyone else? Area?
Good evening, Bill McIntosh.
That's a Terrio.
I want to applaud the council for the effort they put into finding a way to rehab this building that hasn't been touched in my life. I don't know why it's still standing. The two buildings there that have been empty now for, quite a long time, and they're dangerous. I don't know how close to think about using that place for a meeting. I can remember, having meetings in the basement 20, 30 years ago, and it was a difficult place to get in and out of then. But anyway, you're going to form a committee, look into the comments. As far as you've gone, like I said, I appreciate the effort you put in, but I also understand that we need sprinkler system, both those buildings, not only Oddfellows Hall. If you're going to have any public access to that building, it all has to be protected. But the community center also needs something, which is used almost daily in this town by hundreds. That building is going to be shut down if we don't have a sprinkler system. We're talking about $500,000 of taxpayers' money just to make those things habitable. So if you're going to go to the town looking for money, please include the community center in. It has far more value to me. I'm in there all the time than the other buildings that have been empty for my lifetime. Basically, I was a fireman years ago. I can't say it's been empty for my lifetime. So, a volunteer fireman years ago. So, I just want to make sure that if you're going to study the commons, let's bring the community center into it. If you're going to put a sprinkler system, might as well all three buildings. If you're going to keep the building standing, they have to be protected. If you're going to invest money in them, they have to be protected. Save money in the long term on insurance, I'm sure, if you have a sprinkler system, but don't forget the community center. Thank you.
Thanks. Councilor Talbot, you wanted to say something?
Just briefly, to Mr. McIntosh, on the community center. So, when we first got the notification from the fire marshal I think we got the word from the community center first, the violations, and then the violations in Oddfellows. And so we, engage with Ray Gomes, who is a fire safety consultant, and he often goes to the state fire marshal board meetings and helps to work with different municipalities and different groups in this way. So we're engaged with him. He has engaged with a fire safety engineer who is working on a proposal for us, designing a system that would be able to accommodate also the community center, because we don't have robust water supply. There'll have to be underground water tanks to do this. And it makes sense to do those tanks and share them in the building as opposed to have separate tanks for each building. So there's a shared system that's being designed right now. And I think we have 3 more weeks or something that we're waiting on it for that, but they'll have a system designed. And then once we have it designed, we can get it priced out. So that is in the works.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So is the local fire marshal been included in that?
Yeah, we've had a lot of meetings with the local fire marshals. I haven't gone to the state
Andy Watt?
with Randy Watt, yes, and with the chief.
Never talked to you guys.
That's not correct.
I traveled up with Randy onto the state for the fire marshal board.
Somebody.
And the first meeting we had with Ray Gomes, Randy was here, along with another firefighter, and Ray Gomes. Our first meeting with Randy was here.
Because he just talked to me after the last meeting, and he said the only information he gets is from Ray Gomes, not involved with it, not asked to be involved with it. So,
Tristan. Okay. Anyone else?
what I've been told by a fire marshal.
Sure.
In there, I had back surgery, so my name is George Glover. I've been an Oddfellow for 55 years. My primary lodge was in East Providence. I'm a past Grand Master of the Grand Lodge, as Mike Seeger is now. And our organization not only has the lodges at the local level, the Grand Lodge at the state level, but we have a sovereign Grand Lodge at the international level, over 28 countries worldwide. It's a worldwide organization. And in 2010 to 2011, I served as the sovereign grandmaster as the one person over the whole organization worldwide. I'm the only Rhode Islander to ever have done that in 200 years that our organization has been in existence. And when I found out that Sakonnet Lodge was having a little bit of issue, that they didn't have as many members as they needed, I was asked if I would become an associate member of Sakonnet Lodge to help them out. And of course, I said yes, because I believe in the tenets of Odd Fellowship, friendship, love, and truth. And I wanted to do whatever I could to help out the lodge. And I currently serve as treasurer of Sakonnet Lodge. I want to make sure that the lodge survives. They need a place to meet. And obviously, we want it safe for everybody. Everybody who uses the building needs to be safe. I want to ensure that there's a place for the lodge to meet. The lodge is shut, if the building is shut down for a period of time, where can the lodge meet? Because I remember when that agreement was done in 1985, then Grand Secretary, Barbara McLaren is Grand Secretary now, then Grand Secretary George Card had his lawyer draw things up, Doris Leach, the wife of our former former Lieutenant Governor, Richard Leach. And he wanted to make sure that the lodge was safe. And it was the lodge, in good faith, turned over the ownership of the building to the town with the guarantee that they'd have a place to meet. And I just want to make sure that that's adhered to, that they have a place to meet, because we're trying to, they have more applications and they want to be a viable lodge and, you know, do community service. That's what our Odd Fellow lodges do, is helping the community. So it's not only help to the lodge, but it's a help to Little Compton as a community. I know the lodge goes out and they put flags in the cemetery in the past for Memorial Day. So I just want to ensure that the lodge has a place to meet. And if the building is shut down, where can they meet during that interim until it's put back together so that they can go back to their normal meeting place where they have their furniture, their regalia. Even the seal of the lodge is in the building. And when they do dues cards, they have to put a seal on the dues card. They can't do that because the seal is the building and they don't have access to it. So I just want to make sure that the lodge is safe. And as the head of a former head of the worldwide organization, I have a real concern for this lodge. And there's a lot of history here, and we don't want to lose that. And I appreciate you looking into making buildings safe for everybody. That's what we all want. So thank you for your time. And I appreciate the concern that you have for the lodge. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Sure, miss.
My name is Donna Pilkington, and I have a question about sprinkler systems. It's my understanding that it's in the town administrator's budget to cover the cost of the sprinkler system in the community center. Does anyone know the answer to that? I was led to believe that the cost of that.
Yes, we voted. It was
budgeted
on it in the minutes.
So that's going in
Correct.
before the financial town meeting. So we can kind of take that out of the mix a little bit. All right. And I want to make clear that the difference between, say, when the town hall here was renovated, we have no sprinklers here, even though it's a gathering place. My understanding is that the reason their sprinklers were not required here is because there was an exemption, because it's not, children are not gathering here.
So can I interrupt you 1 second on that issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to the state fire board to appeal that,
Uh-huh.
Ray Gomes, and have the letter, but Chief Petron wrote a letter that he was adamant that he wanted a sprinkler system in that building. So
So are you talking about this building or the?
talking about the community center.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm kind of comparing and contrasting, like,
Before my time, and these folks could talk about it, they reconfigured another way and appealed to the fire board, if I'm not mistaken, the state of Rhode Island. and then the fire board accepted their appeal, then they could do something else with monitors or others. So they got a different deal here.
Correct.
Over at the community center, doesn't seem like that deal is gonna happen over there.
Because that service children.
Exactly.
And that's the difference between this building, that building. So because of the safety of the children that, as we all know, are there a lot, then this,
It's actually for the after-school program. They can have children up. You can have your child up there and have a party with 40 people and it's no problem. But when
Exactly.
you have it after school and they put it up there, that's where it dings in.
or summer.
You have to have a sprinkler.
So I just wanted to make sure that we all understand that point, that the community center of, if you consider this building, the community center, the Odd Fellows, the fire bond, of the four buildings, that is kind of in a different situation because of the children.
Because the after-school program from the school.
And the,
Amy, am I correct in saying that? The after-school program is the reason why with the sprinklers.
Yeah, we want to have upstairs.
Right. Right.
We want to keep them on the first floor, then we.
The floor's fine.
That means you're going to have a second.
Right, right.
It's more dangerous.
But if you want to have a birthday party for your son there, you'd be able to do that upstairs, not worry about the sprinklers.
Yes.
So you could have 30 kids up there watching a movie
Yes.
and they don't have to worry about sprinklers. But it's the after-school component to it that brings it.
so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page on that, that we need sprinklers at the community center because of children.
Because of the after-school program.
And also that happily, that line item is in the budget
Correct again.
this year. And then just to reiterate, Mr. McIntosh said, I do believe from the beginning that those three buildings, and I have expressed to you in the fall, those three buildings should be treated as a whole.
Thank you. Zach Miller? Zach, you get 3 minutes, my friend.
I'll make 59, so
Thank you.
use my allotted. Zachary Miller, member of resident of Little Compton. Last week, I observed town council vote, I believe unanimously, for $1.3 million of road repair, including Taylor's Lane above other areas. And it was less than 5 minutes. That 1.3 million was approved town repair.
So Zach, I would just say that's not on the agenda tonight.
And we all need road repair and maintenance, very important.
Zach, if you could approve, you could speak to the council.
Okay. And I applaud your efforts to maintain the roads of Little Compton. I think Taylor's Lane, everyone in town can use Taylor's Lane right now. But it's a curious result that road maintenance for asphalt roads that didn't exist when Odd Fellows built their hall. It's such easy passage for maintenance repair as necessary when a town-owned property has trouble maintaining an historic building that's 150 years old. And I hope that the town council can find the rigor and excitement past such maintenance on an historic structure in the town commons as it does maintaining and upgrading roads in town.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Anyone else? Another bite at the apple? Sir, go ahead right up.
We just stated that the fire suppressant stuff in the community center is needed because of the children. Well, the Odd Fellows Hall usually doesn't have children in the Odd Fellows Hall. You do not participate on the second floor. So why do we need sprinkler system in the Odd Fellows Hall? Just simple. It's a simple question.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you all for that discussion. Oh, we have a riser. Yep, we got a riser.
My name is Brandon Pinio, Long Highway. I addressed this body last week in regard to this, and I asked a couple of questions. One of the questions I asked was, as a concerned citizen, I didn't want to see these men displaced from the building. Now, Ms. Talbot, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but you had a quote that said that will not happen. And yet we're having a vote at the financial town meeting as to how to proceed. And it has to do with putting 4 units on the second floor of said structure. Is that correct?
They said they wouldn't be displaced from a place in town.
A place. I said that building.
I don't
Said
remember.
it wouldn't happen.
I don't remember that.
So, this is the problem here. I read the contract and I read the agreement between them and the town. And, I'm sure that legal wrangling can be in any aspect or any agreement to weasel a way out of it. Possible. But, when I see things like in perpetuity or said second floor is to be occupied solely by the Oddfellows, these are things that I see the town going back on. A prior council made a deal. The prior council made a deal with some of the gentlemen sitting right in this audience. And I would hope that you can honor that deal. But if you're going to find a way to weasel out of it, you got to be able to look those people in the face. And one of those gentlemen used to answer the phone up here at the fire department. And when you called the fire department or the police, you had to speak with that person. He had your back when you were in need. And now he's in need. That is a worthy organization that should be allowed to stay in the quarters that were granted to them in a deal between them and the town. Thank you.
Thank you. So the only thing I would say to that, thank you, is no one's going to weasel out of anything, number one. Number two, the solicitor is looking at the contract in 1985. I think we talked to the Grand Master. I think I was on the phone with her, and he realizes that the contract needs to be updated. Agreed to that. Of course it does. We know buildings are dilapidated. Municipalities don't take care of them. That's why we're here. So we're going to work together with this. I mean, the crux is the second floor. All right. It's obviously the elephant in the room is the second floor. So we're going to figure it out. Okay.
And
no problem going over the contract. I've talked to her about the contract and the Grand Master. And I think the next step would be for the solicitor to brief us or come back what his thoughts are on the contract.
Well, thank you. Please don't underestimate the philanthropy that's put forth to this town quietly and discreetly. The Oddfellows.
But I will say that the Oddfellows are going nowhere. The question that I'm hearing from you is the second floor. So they have to have the second floor. We'll get through that. But in any of these options, whether it's adaptive reuse or if it's restoration, they always have a stay. Okay, they always have a stay.
But there are clauses in the contract that also say significantly similar.
Right. So I'm not a lawyer. That's why we pay this gentleman to do it.
Significantly
The Grand Master wants to redo the contract and talk about it. That's what we're going to do. We're not there yet. We still have time to flesh that out.
To the pieces that are exceedingly important. It's very easy for
No, I understand. I hear it loud and clear.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Miss?
Abigail Brooks, not Compton town resident, actually former council member. I just wanted to remind people here that at the last meeting that you had, you talked about the fact that you had to have a draft plan in place because of the requirements of the fire department. You put together a draft plan. It's simply a draft. Nothing's in stone. It's going to be a conversation and a vote at the financial town meeting and further discussion. But I think it's important to reiterate that it is simply something you felt you tried to do. You pre-created 2 options. One was a draft plan where the burden be minimized on taxpayers. And that is the church community housing plan. There's also an alternative there. Second choice to be discussed at the financial town meeting for $1,500,000 for an open-ended discussion about the restoration of the buildings. And you've been kind enough to listen to what was said at that meeting organize a special town council meeting this afternoon at 5:30. Well attended, thoughtfully done, to continue the discussion about how we can have some kind of collaborative discussion about the planning going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, thank you all for that. If there's no objections, I'd like to move up the second article. Any objection? I'm not seeing any. The town council may consider establishing a 7-member committee entitled Commons Review Committee and may consider a charge to recommend to the council suggested uses of 30 and 32 commons and overall recommendation for the council. The goal is to receive the recommendation by April 24th in order to allow consideration and discussion before the town financial meeting. Now I'm going to make a motion. I am going to make a motion to establish a 7-member committee entitled Commons Review Committee and may consider a charge to recommend to the council suggested uses or uses of 30 and 32 commons, overall recommendation for the council. The goal is to receive the recommendation by April 24th in order to allow consideration and discussion before the town financial committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
So before I'm willing to vote on this up or down, I'd like to know who you plan on having on that committee. I think one should be the town fire marshal. At a minimum. And I assume you must have somebody in mind that you're gonna put on it.
Carol, we need to vote to make the committee before we name people.
Well, you,
Yes or no? You know, yes.
well, it's not a simple yes or no. You can make it all one motion.
Yeah.
You're planning on establishing a committee,
Right.
but it's fair in discussion for him to ask if you've already got somebody planned. So that's
No, yeah, absolutely.
part of the discussion.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously I couldn't share with you because it'd be a rolling quorum, right? I couldn't share that with you. You can only talk to one counselor at a time. So I'm not trying to keep anything from anyone on the council, obviously. I'm happy to say, there are going to be, I named 4 people. One is Travis Audi, the chair of the school committee, the chair of the school committee. Obviously, the building right next door. Amy Mooney, the community center, is an obvious choice. Mike Spears, planning board / ag trust. So I get 2 bangs for my buck with that guy on the planning board and the ag trust. And I called Marjorie O'Toole, a resident historian of the Historical Society, and she declined my invitation to be on it. Because I thought that would be a brainer. So that was 3 people. Marjorie is gone. And the other 4, that's a 7-member committee, would be at large. People would send in their letters to be on the committee. So I have 3, Mr. Mataronis. I didn't think of the fire marshal. Happy to add him to 4 if you want, and then have 3 at large, if that makes sense to the committee.
Yep, and I think another one should be somebody from the historical
Right.
commons.
Right. So I started with Marjorie.
Yeah.
As no peer, and it was also on that committee. She declined. So I'm sure that we will have letters from people on that committee. So I definitely, obviously, my historical perspective on the committee, and I'm assuming we'll have more letters from those people to pick from.
Don't we have the chairman of the Commons Historic Society in here tonight? Maybe you could ask him if he'd like to be on it.
Well, that'll be up to the committee if they wanted to, if you want to vote on these names singularly or not. Happy to do that.
But
And the fire marshal, are you talking
Randy Watt,
Randy Watt or Chief Petrie?
Randy Watt,
Randy Watt?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
because nothing's gonna get approved in this town till it goes through him. When you do a building permit or any kind of modification, he has to approve it. So I think it would a much better situation to have him involved and say, well, you're gonna be able to do this, but you're not gonna be able to do this, rather than come back with what people think is a good idea, and he's trying to say, well, you can't do that. And if I was involved, then you would have known that.
When you spoke with him about it, did you gauge his interest? Do you think he'd be willing to?
Oh, yeah.
do this?
Yeah.
Great.
All right, so I'm gonna include in my motion what I just said, 4 names. Travis Audi, Amy Mooney, Mike Steers, and Randy Watt. That's my motion. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Carol?
Hang on. Andrew had said that.
Awesome.
All right, any further discussion on this motion? Any further discussion on this motion?
I have something. Do we, in this same conversation, discuss opening requesting the letters of interest for a period of time? Is that part of this motion or is that a separate?
Period of time is normally 2 weeks from the meeting that you're in. In this case, it may end up being 3 weeks because we're in off cycle.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be in here, but it's clearer if you do put it in.
I would like to amend my motion to have letters of interest for 1 week. For our March 20th meeting, to name the proposed 3 at-large for the council.
Recommend an odd voting.
What's that? I have
Odd
3.
fellow.
I have 3 at-large.
He's recommending an odd vote.
Okay, thank you. We have discussion in the council. We have a motion on the table. I have Travis Audi, Amy Mooney, Mike Spears, Randy Watt, 3 at-large. The people could put letters in for this council to appoint. There further discussion on the council.
I believe that by having 4 named persons, you are biasing the possible outcome. I think we should only maximum 3. I don't believe we should name 4 people and then have 3 others be added. As to who you might take off, it wouldn't matter particularly to me. The chair of the planning board would be somebody we could take off, any one of those 3. I believe strongly that we should have, the council should not name majority of the people.
That's a good point. So the council will discuss. We have 4 names. Do you want to pair one off?
I would
Do you want to?
suggest keeping the fire marshal and the 2 neighbors to the property. So taking off Mr. Steers.
Taking off Mr. Steers. Ms. Talbot,
I agree.
any further discussion, Gary?
No.
I'll amend my motion to include Travis Audi, Amy Mooney, Randy Watt, and 4 letters of interest to be sent in March 20th to complete the 7-member board.
Question?
Go ahead, Ms. You have to, please come to the front.
My name is Betty Sedanius. I'm a town resident. My question is, the remaining 3 are going to be appointed by the council?
Remaining 4
Remaining 4?
from letters of interest.
So everyone's going to be appointed?
That's how we make it.
The ones that you are naming now and the ones that are going to be submitting letters, they're all going to be actually selected by the council.
That's how we have to do it, yeah.
So do we need to actually name anybody now? Can we open it up to the entire community?
That's a good question. You know, my personal feeling, I'm just one of 5 that I wanted to name 3 of these folks to get the ball get going so they could get moving because of the April 24th deadline. I don't know if anyone else shares that opinion on this council.
But I don't know if they can get going if they don't have their entire group.
They can get going. It wouldn't be a quorum. They could certainly talk among themselves. Absolutely.
We have said we.
Hate to see people excluded that maybe could bring very valuable.
But it is, we're not excluding anyone.
Well,
I think that the council as a chair, a school committee chair, the community center, and we have a fire marshal. I mean, those are pretty obvious choices. I don't know who else would,
I'm not saying that I would not. So
and then we're opening it up to everyone in the community for their
I'm not saying
letter.
I'm not saying that I don't agree with your choices, but I just want to be sure that we all know that you're going to make all the choices. Right?
What's that?
I just want everybody to understand that you actually are going to be making all the choices who's on the committee.
Yeah, we're going to look at all.
Or another.
Yeah, well, we appoint the planning board, the act for us. So they've been doing in this charter forever.
And I think your choices are good. I think that there are other good choices too that could be included. And I'm a little bit concerned about leaving out the Historical Preservation Advisory Committee because they can be a valuable asset when you go ahead to make your
Yeah.
plan, trying to maintain the feel of the town.
Yeah. So I was excited when we appointed that committee.
Sorry?
I said I was excited when we appointed that committee. And I think we got some really good people on it. You probably agree, right?
Right.
Okay. And I asked someone on that committee to be on here who is probably the best historian we have in the town, Marjorie O'Toole. And I was like, we could have argued about her spot on it and she declined. So I want, as you're saying, I want to open it up to everyone on that committee to send their letter in. So I haven't spoken to anyone else on that committee except for Marjorie.
Right. That perhaps is another point that I'd like everybody to recognize was that you didn't speak to the chairperson of the committee.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Bill McIntosh. I think we all have the ability to participate in these meetings. You attend the meetings, you have input, your voice isn't unheard. And that's what our responsibility is, whether you're appointed to the committee or not.
Thank you.
Lindsay Pinio, Highway Little Compton. I have a twofold point to make. One is, how will these people who are going to send in their letters be evaluated as to their prowess for and competence for being on the committee?
So I'll let
that's one.
I'll let these two answer that. They've been appointing people for close to 30 years. And I've been doing it for the 3+. Do you want to answer how you do a criteria on these appointments?
Well, we generally have an interview process where when they come forward and we interview them and see how knowledgeable they are about whatever aspect that we're going to try to place them. So, that's the way it's always been done. Problem is sometimes when you get 20 or 30 people, only when somebody comes forward, it's generally a policeman or a fireman. We have those guys evaluate them. In this circumstance, that wouldn't be prudent. So that's the only way you can really do it. You can't pick names out of a hat and think they're going to be the person you want. So the whole council has to really sit down with each one. We've had instances where we've had to interview over 20 people. We've had to interview over 20 people.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to make it 2 nights, or we'll just give them a 10-minute window to why they think they'd be appropriate person to serve on this committee.
The second part of, just to follow that.
Yeah.
Will the public be invited to that interview?
It's public.
Yeah, it'll be a public meeting.
Public meeting.
It'll be advertised.
Because I am just a little uneasy about the way another appointment recently was done, that there was a window that was placed, there were people that applied in good faith, and it was acknowledged by the town council that they were going to open up the interview process, extend it longer, and certainly it wasn't because the people who applied weren't competent or capable. That makes me uneasy about fairness of the way windows for applications are done and then retracted and revised. And that's one piece that I am wondering if there is going to be a follow-up process from the interview of, say, more than 4 people who then are put on the ballot at the town meeting for the townspeople to vote on a selection of, say, I don't know, the top however many for that position, because I think this is a position that is going to impact the entire community tremendously. And I think the entire community should have the opportunity to be involved in a selection of that person, provided they meet certain criteria. And I would like to see those criteria posted so that all could review them and all would know how to address their letters of intent for applying for this committee. I think that levels playing field, and it's going to funnel in the opportunity for perhaps someone who thinks that they shouldn't bother when they see what people are looking for. That, well, they may be encouraged, well, maybe I do have the quality. It's not me. Maybe they do have the ability to apply for that. I would like to see parameters.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pastor Daniels, resident of Little Compton. It occurred to me as I'm listening, a logistic concern as this group is forming, which I'm all for, by the way. How will that Plan C, I'm going to call that Plan C, interact with Plan A and B? Plan A is obviously the church community deal, and Plan B is borrow money to pay for renovation. Will it be on April 25th or thereafter? The public will know us. There's Plan A, B, and C. Choose one of them, or the committee will vote on it and choose Plan A, B, and C going into May. What's going to happen there? How will that be dealt?
Are you asking if there's going to be another article coming from this committee that's on the town financial meeting? Are you, that answer is no. It's too late to put an article on the time, is it correct? You can't, there'll be no other, it won't be on the town financial meeting. Two, the motion that's on the table is for this group to have a recommendation for consideration, discussion for the council. So they're going to give us that input.
To do what?
They have a blank canvas, just like, we did 10 weeks ago.
So what will the town council do with that recommendation?
I don't know the future. We're gonna listen to it and react to it.
Or like June, July, August? I'm getting more lost now.
April 24th is the deadline for that. So we will discuss it on the 24th.
So what I'm hearing is Plan A and B to be voted on at the financial meeting stands firm and it's not going to change.
There's articles on there that aren't coming off.
They're not coming off.
They're not coming off, no.
And why bother having this meeting?
Why bother?
Uh-huh.
Because I've heard from the last meeting that people want to be heard. So we're going to make.
To be heard, to know outcome.
We'll find out. I can't tell the future, Ara. I don't know what the future's going to bring. You don't either.
Well, what I do know is right now you said that A, the public will vote either for A or B or both.
Or neither.
Right. So I'm kind of at a loss what's going on. And I do want to voice my concern here again, more specifically regarding Plan A. Plan A, the way I read the article, and several other people read it, but I tell you my opinion, is literally a blank check given to 5 of you. And if I understand it right, only 3 of you.
All right, if I might say, that's not on the agenda tonight. It's not on the agenda.
It has an impact on Plan C.
Okay, we're still Plan C. I don't know what Plan C is. You're saying Plan C. Your time's up. We have a motion on the table.
Plan C is going to be done without any.
I don't know about this.
Going to happen.
I'm not saying Plan C. I don't know where Plan C comes. Thank you.
Everybody gets Plan C? I hope you do.
Okay, thank you.
Plan C is just filling the gap.
Okay. Thank you.
Donna Pilkington.
I see. Yeah.
Hi.
There you go.
I just want to thank the council for first holding this meeting and listening and giving another opportunity and thinking about getting input from the community prior to the financial town meeting. That is much appreciated, and thank you. My question is about the wording of this motion that you have, because it says suggested uses of 30 and 32 commons. Since the council meeting last week and the meeting today, several people have brought up the idea of treating all 3 parcels, 30, 32, and 34, which is the community center, as one entity. is it possible to amend this to include 34 comments as the scope of
Miss-
member committee?
Pickle.
Pink done. Yeah, like Washington, only it's a pill.
Further, we included an overall recommendation for the commons. So that includes the commons. That includes everything. Includes the commons. Any building they want to talk about on this committee.
But you specifically mentioned 30 and 32.
Right, and then we had a comma and a comma, and it says an overall recommendation for the commons. So it includes 30 and 32 specifically, and also a recommendation for the commons. The whole commons.
So you don't feel a need to specifically include?
No, I'm expecting this committee is going to be very broad in general about the whole commons, yes.
Because the way I read this is that it has a narrower.
So that's just my opinion. I have 4 other counselors
that
could give their opinion on that one.
Mrs. Pilkington, you can always make an amendment to any vote, any warrant down there at the financial town meeting. It'll have to be on voting and gather the majority of the people in the audience. But I agree with the.
But is this going to the town?
No.
No, this isn't going there. So.
Oh, this isn't going there, but the main thrust of 2 warrants that we have in there, whether the church community is going to do something or whether the town is going to do something with those buildings. And my hope is if the town comes up with money to do something with those buildings, there's going to be something left over to use on the community center. And Amy Mooney, the head of the community center, was thinking about some kind of walkway, enclosed walkway, to go to the Odd Fellows Hall for the overflow of our senior lunches.
Well, I beg to differ in the sense that I started reading that report and I was up till 1 a.m. trying to figure out the condition of those 2 buildings. And I just have to say, I don't think there's going to be a lot of money left to do anything, given the content of the.
Thank you, Ms. Pickleton. Mr. Terrio.
Hi.
Were you, sir?
Terrio, town resident. I also had kind of a logistical question about the April 24th deadline. A, is it enough time for this group to come up with a meeting recommendation? And 2, if their recommendation is something other than strokes 1 or 2, would the council contemplate rescinding their support for strokes, or are those strokes going to go before the town meeting with the council endorsement, regardless of what the recommendation of this group is?
So the council's already voted on those 2 articles, number 1. 2, again, I don't know the future, what's going to come out of this. I don't know. We'll find out. We're all in this together. We want to talk about what if
I'm not.
So that happens. I don't know.
I don't know either, but if the recommendation is something other than those 2, will that recommendation be reflected in anything that goes to the financial town meeting?
Yeah. So I'll let anyone else answer. To me, I don't know what the future will bring. I can't say what if.
Bill, I think how I view this, and this might answer Mr. Damian's question too. I kind of view this committee as a guide for the community going into the town meeting. So we can have some idea as to what people want before we vote on the 2 items at town meeting. So maybe this committee comes together, they look at 2 options that we have, and they say, no, both of those don't work. We got to vote both of those down at town meeting. That kind of informs us or people coming to town meeting to go that way, or they could endorse one or the other of the options that are at town meeting, or come up with something completely different. Okay. So I think that it's more of a guiding post for us to see how we should be handling the 2 suggestions that are on the financial town meeting, or if there's something else they might have to do and put a pause to those. So,
okay. Thank you.
Thank
you. Mike, how are you?
Question for you.
just for clarification, you're asking for application or letters to be received by the 20th of next week. That being said, how are we going to properly advertise this so that we have an outreach to all applicants with less than 1 week's time? When the newspaper is where we typically do our advertising for the town, and that publication will not come out until next Wednesday.
So I recommend it. I understand that we have a tight timeline. I'm the one who said I wanted it for the 20th. Again, I'm one of 5 people.
Understandable.
So I have a second on that right now on the table. We're under discussion right now.
My second, hypothetically, if we did follow through with what the council does follow through with the 20th, my own opinion is that there's no way that a committee will be able to do their due diligence between the time that they get appointed to April 26th to do a full study on what you're asking for beyond the buildings that are in question or even into the commons itself. There's no way. Patrick, you know as well as I do, it takes months to get a study done. And you're asking for a rush study done by April 26th for a financial town meeting in May.
Yeah, I'm not asking for a study. We're asking for a recommendation.
A recommendation based on their.
If you go on the website, the town's website, all the work that we've done in the past 10 weeks is on there. And you
Carol, could you share the list of things that are on that you have posted? Because you have a lot of things, a lot of information for the studies that have already been done, that are the beginnings of the information for folks to start with. So we started working on this in December. So
just stop you for a
second. Sure.
I could sit here and rattle off all the stuff that today I put on yesterday afternoon. I don't think it's fair to this group to throw that at them right now.
Okay. Just say there's a lot up there.
What I want people to understand is they're all right, and you are somewhat right. You're looking for an opinion. You're looking for it in a very short time frame. It may not be capable of being done. It will not be able to be a study. By appointing people and then asking for letters of interest and waiting until March 20th, you're not going to have the ability to do interviews because they won't then get interviews until at least a week after that. So they'll get maybe a week or 10 days to work. That's not fair. Personal opinion, this group here should appoint a base town official group that you agree upon, a small number, and then let those 3-5 people conduct times where the public like this can come to them and place all of their ideas, let them gather it all together and not vote to you, but bring it in and say, we had a huge amount of people that want XYZ. We have 2 or 3 that said they'd like XYZ. There are 4 people that said that, and just gather all that data and bring it to you. Because 1, you haven't got a lot of time. Whoever's doing this is not going to have a lot of time. And that at least gives you more public input of what people are thinking. And then all of that information at financial town meeting, the voters still have the last say. You've already said that you have no intentions to remove either one of those articles. And it's past the deadline, so they can't add it. So from all of that information that is gathered at town meeting, somebody can get up and say, I wish to amend the article number, whatever it is that has to do with bonding, to specifically say that town of Little Compton would like to X, and then name whatever that is. And then people at the town meeting then have the ability to say, yes, we all agree with that, or no, we don't. And they either vote one or the other or nothing. And then as we've said before, if it's nothing, then you guys just need to start picking away at what needs to be fixed and move on with it. But I don't think it's fair to say this quick time frame, there's not enough time for people to know that you're asking for other than word of mouth from these people. And that's just my opinion.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so
Again, George Glover, I'm sorry to speak twice, but I wanted to speak on the committee that you're going to appoint, if you appoint, because she made a lot of good sense there. What I wanted to bring up is whereas Secundit Lodge donated the building to the town and they're deeply vested in this, I would urge, if at all possible, that one of those positions, those 4 positions you were talking about, the at-large positions, be designated for one of the members of the Oddfellows Lodge here, because they are very vested in this, what's going on here. And they're the ones who gave the building in the first place. So thank you.
Thank you.
So we sit here on March 13th.
We got Abigail.
Oh, someone- sure, go ahead.
Let's get her on.
There was a certain deadline you were trying to meet, which is the financial town meeting. Clearly, this is, what we're talking about is really complex. There's a deep feeling about this. So a commission gets established potentially, and they have some ideas, but there is no hurry. The only hurry really that I can think of that I've heard is getting the sprinkler system into the community center so that the second floor can be used for children's activities. They don't have to move the seniors upstairs. It's what we're facing is really complicated. And I think to feel like we've got these deadlines and pressures to do things quickly potentially takes away from a really significant community discussion that we can have. And yes, we can have it at the financial town meeting to some degree, but I think it's right. We're talking about what, May 20th? It's not so far away for coming up with ideas as complicated as this could be. And for one thing, if we're looking at the second stroke is what, $1.5 million. So from what we're talking about, it's likely that whatever we're thinking through that a committee might come up with be probably more expensive than that. So I think we just need to kind of keep that in mind. I think it is important to have a group of people that are thinking about, but I think we need to take a time to think about how that gets done. On the other hand, I think about the appointments that are made to committees in town that are doing extremely important jobs like planning board or agriculture conservancy trust or zoning board or whatever. I mean, we make these decisions all the time. At point we count on the council to make these decisions about who gets appointed, and they're making really significant decisions. So my only point I'd like to make is let's get the pressure off of this and just be very thoughtful about it. I like the idea of, trying to have a committee to think about it. These committees having meetings that are open. Carol was talking about when people can make suggestions. Some of that has already started. Clearly, you've done a tremendous amount of work that will be helpful to the background, but let's
thank you.
Temperature.
Thank you.
Can I say something to the urgency that we're feeling on this is not strictly the sprinklers for the community center, but it's also the fire marshal's requirement. We have to come back with a plan that they may or may not approve in a short amount of time. I think it was 6 months from the meeting date. I don't know, Bob, do you know what the exact date on that we go back is?
I don't know the exact date, but that's right.
And so I believe that date comes before the financial town meeting. So we might be coming, I think currently the thinking is that we're coming to him with the 2 scenarios that we're going to put before the voters and say, here are 2 ways that we propose to deal with the fire safety violations at the number 32 Oddfellows building. So I understand what you're saying. We have kids in the community center. That's urgent, but from the fire marshal's perspective, so is Oddfellows. So that's the other thing that we're up against time-wise.
Thank you.
Let me just say that this is not new. This is how the council has operated for many, many years. When an important issue like this comes forward, there ends up being a large group of people who comes forward and says, I've got a concern. We are accustomed and I think we will continue to listen to that. That's what will inform our eventual decision. That most recent comment, I think, is very apropos. This need not be. We need to answer the fire safety board with a strategy, but we don't have to select winners and losers with respect to which buildings are going to take first place or whatever. That remains within our purview. So I would appreciate strongly the breadth of comment that's come out of this group, which only represents a very small percentage of the town. But there, as many of you have already said, there are people in this town who would be here if they knew how important this subject is, and they just didn't get the word soon enough. So it is our intention, I will speak myself, and I think it's true of all of us, that our intention will be to be deliberate about this. And I know that's the very fact that's driving some of the impetus here, is to say, let's get something done, because this do-nothing group that's been in charge of whatever it's been doing for all these years doesn't get it done. I get that. I understand that. The reality is, however, that we need not take that as some personal affront that says, okay, then fine, we'll do it your way. That attitude must not be allowed to be present in this deliberation. The things that you all have said, I think, temper that, and we'll be able to put in a way that it's not a stampede that gets us an answer that we later say, I wish we hadn't done that. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And just before the last two people, I think this committee is important. I think the charge is important. I think we should name this today. And I think we should discuss who we want to put on it. So final two, if we can make it for 3 minutes and we can get on with our business there.
I understand that the two articles cannot be removed. I heard that clearly. I am wondering if we might be permitted at the beginning of the town meeting to offer an amendment that there be a special town meeting held when this group of people has had time, as many people have spoken to properly reflect on these extremely important decisions. Is that a possibility? And is that realistic?
That has been an element of every time the moderator has established the rules, he has made such a provision. I would anticipate the answer to your questions, yeah.
Good, because in my opinion, I think that's very, very important that we give it more time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Kristen Ronis. I just wanted to come up and say I didn't really know that this was coming to the financial town meeting already. So thank you for clarifying how all that works. And Bob, you just clarified that if there was, there is an option A and an option B, that there will be a special meeting to discuss what all those options entail. Is that also publicized in like the newspaper or in the mailing with descriptions, like what option A and option B would be? That was one of my questions. Just because other than knowing a lot of people who come to these meetings, I wouldn't know a lot of it, and I wouldn't maybe necessarily understand a lot of it. So maybe if some of this means X, Y, and Z, this means X, Y, and Z, like what is happening with option A and option B in a little more detail.
A good, reasonable question.
Just like, even if it was bullet points.
Yeah, I
because it's big decisions.
And I'm a proponent of sending out a mailer with.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Active reuse and a short description, restoration, short.
Right.
And then the findings of this committee also on there.
Because
walk into the town financial meeting, they have all that information right there. They see, the adaptive reuse, they see the restoration, they see committee and their work that they've done. They can make a reasonable decision.
Right. So regardless of how the building is being used, it needs to be restored, and that it's what the building's future is going to look like. So I've lived here for 20 years and I hope to live here for the rest of my life. And I just hear and have heard, I've been on many committees. I work at school. I serve on the Republican town committee, and I have children in town. And I've heard everyone talk about we need more space for the youth. we need more space for seniors. So it just breaks my heart to think that we would be giving up any space when land, especially in the commons where our community thrives together, would give it up like any space. I would like to dream big and see those spaces used in a way that could move into the next century, you know what I mean? Like, so 100 years from now, that building is thriving. I know the Bakers meet there. I know the Girl Scouts have met there. Other clubs have met there. And I think it'd be a shame if we lost space, especially if we're sharing space with the Odd Fellows and other community organizations. And I find it sad that they still don't have a place yet. And I thought that was in the works. So I just wanted to say that I hope we dream big, Little Compton, and however we use the space.
Thank you, Kristen.
I am probably the oldest people in the room tonight, but I do want to know why it is such a rush. You've been in, this council has sat for 4 months, on 5, and all of a sudden it has to happen right away. And I didn't realize that the speaker before me mentioned the people that use the hall. Where are they going to meet? The neighbors. Where are the Girl Scouts going to meet? Where is the lodge members, if there are enough to meet? There are several people that use that hall, and to all of a sudden going to lose it. I don't hear any alternative plan to accommodate those people. So let's put a little thought into this. It does not have to be done today. It doesn't have to be done tomorrow, but it should be looked at and have something that would solve those problems that I feel is important. Thank you.
Okay. So we have I'm going to withdraw my motion. You withdraw your second?
Sure.
And we'll start again. I'll make a motion and I'll read it again. To the town council to establish a 7-member committee entitled Commons Review Committee and may consider in charge to recommend to the council suggested uses of 30 and 32 commons and overall recommendation for the commons. The goal is to receive a recommendation by April 24th in order to allow consideration and discussion before the town financial meeting. I will include Travis Audi, Amy Mooney, Randy Watt, and we have 4 other spots to fill in the council. And I think from Carol's input, do we want to name 4 more people for this committee tonight?
Does that have to get seconded before we can talk about it?
Okay. You want a second one?
Seconded?
Okay, in discussion.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
I understand the time constraints on all of this are really hard to deal with, whether it's naming the committee or getting their recommendations or voting on it at the financial town meeting. Could we, instead of trying to go through the interview process, but in order to be as open as possible to as many interested parties as possible, ask the folks who put their letters of interest forward to write a 1-page description of their experience, their interest, and then use that as a basis for our decision-making for the remaining 4 at-large seats rather than interviews. Let people make the case on paper. Is that feasible? Does anyone like that idea?
I understand it.
Well, I think 2 other people that should be involved with this is somebody from the Commons Historic Preservation Society and as said, one of the Odd Fellows, because I mean, they're the ones that's going to have a big impact on it. If option 1 is approved, option 2, I think they'll stay where they are with enhanced building and an enhanced area for them to meet. So I think those 2, at least at a minimum, we should pick from, like I said, the Historical Preservation Society that we just put together a little while ago, and an Odd Fellow. And the other 2, I'm not sure.
Suggestions from council.
Maybe somebody from the Commons area.
I thought of that also.
So if we could look at people writing letters, then we should pick one from the Commons area, one from the Historical Preservation Society, and one from Phillips, and there's a layperson.
Well, I like your suggestion that a one-page letter. I mean, Carol, your suggestion on that?
You're looking at a week's time.
Right.
How are they going to know, first off, that you're looking for these letters of interest? You're gonna be relying on word of mouth, posting on the website, sure, but there aren't a lot of people that look at that. Much as people think they pull out, that not necessarily. You haven't got time to put it in the newspaper. You can't send one of those robocalls out.
So generally what we do for letters, what do we do generally? 2 weeks?
Yes,
And where does that get advertised?
it gets posted on the weekly calendars and put on the website.
So we can certainly do those things, except for 2 weeks, it's 1 week.
And what I'm getting at is you only have 1 week, so there could be somebody out there that is March 21st said, wait a minute, I didn't know I would have thrown my name in the ring. Now, granted, that person can still participate. It's just that you're gonna end up with 7 members that are the, I guess, voting members. I would say that they actually shouldn't even be voting. I think they should just be gathering data and turning it over to you. So it really wouldn't make a difference who you appoint or who sits on the named committee. Because I don't think they should be voting. They should just be gathering information, giving it to the council.
You think they should report, your reporting minutes?
Well, they're gonna have to have minutes. Wait, you got open meetings law, you got 48 hours notice. It's not like they could just say, okay, tomorrow morning, we're gonna meet at 8 o'clock and meet. And they can't, you're constrained somewhat. So it's, I mean, I agree with Abby. We might need to take this down a notch, gather your information. And at town meeting, you may need to take a step back and say, this is not ready for prime time and put it off. I know you're concerned about losing potential funds from church community. And
I'm more concerned with the fire marshal. That's my primary concern, is the fire safety.
if that's your primary concern, then all of this can be put on slower pace. Because you already know that you've set aside monies to handle 34 comments, correct?
Sprinkler.
Sprinkler. That fire marshal statement shouldn't come into play for this particular discussion because you've already accommodated for that.
But it doesn't answer the stairs. I mean, we have something for the sprinkler to make sure that the community center gets a sprinkler. That's in the capital budget. But we have the odd fellows that also then there's other violations there, right?
I get that, but there's the fire for worrying about potentially losing something. You mentioned to me that you were concerned that you would lose the money for the affordable housing if it didn't vote by this.
I said that was one element of very many that we're juggling as of now.
I get that. But what I'm trying to say is you could take a step back. You could gather this information, get the data from the public. And then at town meeting, you have a more learned way of making a decision. And at that point, maybe this group comes back with a whole slew of things that said, yay, this is what we want. And it's clear. Maybe it's not going to be clear. And that's true. It's probably not going to be abundantly clear.
We go back to the fire marshal on 32. He's going to want to see that we have a plan to resolve the deficiencies. I'm talking this through out loud and looking for a confirmation or clarification if anybody can offer it. And I think I'm looking at you, Bob, specifically because he's been in those conversations.
Right.
And that would include stairs and exterior stairs.
Would need to anticipate.
An elevator.
That's what they're gonna be about.
So those were the big things, the elevator, the stairs, and sprinklers.
But if we gave an answer that said, we haven't figured out where we're gonna get the money to do this, or we haven't figured out which thing we're gonna do here, but these are our points. And we petitioned for, but again, we not transgress the occupation of space that is not properly protected, but we need more time to be able to develop which of the choices we have.
I thought that was why they gave us 6 months. I thought that was the whole point. They had identified those things and said, come back in 6 months with a.
I understand. Yep.
But we come back and the plan is, okay, until we figure out exactly what town wants and exactly where the funds are gonna come from, we won't utilize the top floor of the Odd Fellows.
But that would mean if we don't have the funds, like if we don't do the bond and borrow money to do anything over there, because the bond option gives us enough money to do just those repairs and the elevator and the sprinklers and all that. If we don't pass that bond, then we don't have monies to do the repairs for the fire marshal. And we can't, and I guess we could go to a special financial town meeting in the future, which Carol told me was expensive and not ideal. But I guess that would be potential something we could do.
But what I'm trying to get to is the second floor of the Odd Fellow, which the stairs go up to. Yes, they're in disrepair. And then the sprinkler system. So if we say
Elevator.
and the elevator, so if we don't allow people to use the second floor until we come up with a plan that the whole town is on board with, then that's what we're gonna give them.
Potentially.
All right, I'm gonna give this a shot. I need some cooperation. Gary, will you be a member of the committee?
Yeah, I'll be a member.
Okay. I am going to name, I made a motion. I've got Travis Audi, I've got Amy Mooney, I've got Randy Watt, I got the chair of the historical committee. I got Leslie Fox, who lives in town, who lives right in the Commons.
And is on his.
I have Gary Mataronis. That's 6 members. I will entertain letters from Oddfellows. I don't know any Oddfellows. Okay.
You've met 7 of them tonight.
I don't know them. I'm gonna ask that they send their letters in for one appointment on the 20th.
Can I make a suggestion?
You can certainly.
The 7th spot, Grand Master or his designee. So the Grand Master, if he doesn't want to come to the meeting, could select who from the Odd Fellows will be there as his designee.
Grand Master or his designee.
And I think the Grand Master over there is Doug Waite, if I'm not.
I'm looking at the ground.
The Grand Master's here.
That man not look like a Grand Master? Come on.
Yeah, I.
Okay.
Mike Seeger.
So I have a motion on the table.
Are you taking the solicitor's suggestion?
I have a motion on the table to appoint Travis Audi, Amy Mooney, Randy Watt, chairman of the Historical Preservation Committee, Leslie Fox, Gary Mataronis, and the designee, the Grand Master, or his designee. Is there anything else I should add to this?
And one person at large.
No, I got 7.
No, 7? It's
right
all
here.
7.
It's all 7 right there.
I mean, I agree with the Grand Master and he can designate anybody he wants, but if it's an odd fellow that's in town that has knowledge of what they do and actually has his fingers into the situation, or he has something to win or lose or however you want to look at it, I think that would be appropriate.
I'm not arguing with the Grand Master. Have a comment, Grand Master. Yes, she can. Yes, she can.
I appreciate the information that was given. I will get back to somebody on the committee here and let you know what's going on. I am coming out of office soon, but that doesn't mean that we can find something else. Or I like the idea of see if we can find somebody local that is a member of Secana Lodge at this point. I think that would be a well worthwhile to try to work that in. But I want to thank the fact that we were brought into this. I think it's a very nice thing for you to do. I appreciate it.
If you could add to the motion or his designee, who is a member of Secana Lodge number 39.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carol's going to read that back from council before we take our vote.
Okay. Establish a 7-member committee entitled the Commons Review Committee. Charge this committee to recommend to the council suggested uses of 30 and 32 Commons and open recommendation for the Commons. The goal is to receive the recommendation by April 24th in order to allow consideration and discussion before the financial town meeting. Said 7 members of the committee shall be Travis Audie, Chair of the School Committee, Amy Boney, Director of Little Compton Community Center, Randy Watt, Local Fire Marshal, Art Sedanian, the Chair of the Historic Preservation Committee, Leslie Fox, a member, resident living on the Commons, Gary Mataronis, member of Town Council, and then the Grand Master of the IOF, or his designee, who is a Little Compton resident.
Member of Sonata Lodge number 30.
Sorry, who is a Little Compton lodge.
That's my motion.
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing. Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.
We're going to enter executive session. Take your time leaving. And I will recess in 10 minutes.
Thank you for coming. I'm glad I got to meet you in person.
I'll get that information.
You know, I.
Perfect. I'm glad you came. Thank you.
Yeah, I got that today. It was printed there and not. I'll do your reading it. Please, have to.
I would like to reconvene from our recess, the open session. And I am going to hold the councilors to turn to executive session. Andrew? Aye. Victoria?
Aye.
The Q? Aye.
Martin, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Town council enters executive session under RGL section 4246 5A litigation. So